Hi everybody, welcome back to Let Her Cook, brought to you by BSCN. I am Jackie Dutton, the face, voice, and apparently not controller of the light in here. Sorry, we have some clouds outside. But today we are going to talk a little crypto, and we are going to cook something that is a little like Thanksgiving adjacent. If you are having a smaller or like a slightly intimate Thanksgiving dinner, I would say with like 6 people or less, this would be a really lovely recipe. So we're going to take an acorn squash and I'm going to cut it in half and I'm going to roast it. And then we're going to make a stuffing, not a dressing. There is a difference. I will explain that in a minute. But then after the acorn squash roast, we're going to pull it out of the oven and then we're going to stuff the acorn squash like a bowl with the stuffing mix. I'm probably going to have a little leftover, but that's going to be okay. So to start, I'm going to just get this set up so we can get this in the oven because it needs about 30 minutes to roast. And then we will start talking some crypto things because some things have like really blown up over the last 24 hours, unfortunately for some. So you're going to want to cut this in half, and this is like cutting a pumpkin. I mean, this is a little difficult here. All right, there is a stem on this, similar to a pumpkin. So make sure you have your pumpkin carving tools ready for this. I'm going to cut all the way around here. And this has like guts, you know, like pumpkin guts. So we're going to scrape all this out with a spoon. I only recently in my adult life started having smaller family get-togethers. I usually would go to my grandparents and all of my aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody would be there. And it's just a really hilarious, good time. But since I have moved and people have gotten older and some have moved away or unfortunately aren't with us anymore. So Thanksgivings are a little smaller now, but I'm still trying to find ways to make them fun. I'm gonna toss this in my handy dandy trash can. Okay. And I'm going to take a cookie sheet. Please don't judge my cookie sheet, but I know all of you have one that looks just like this, just beat up. I'm sure you could also save those seeds and use them like pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are amazing. They're an anti-parasitic naturally. Okay, you're going to want to take some olive oil and just, that was a lot of olive oil. I'll get to the chat where everybody starts talking about the amount of things that I use, like the amount of sriracha I used a couple weeks ago. I'm just going to take my fingers, they're clean, I swear, and just kind of rub this all over the acorn squash. And then we're going to just do a little salt and pepper, and then I'm going to throw this in the oven. Nothing like a little olive oil moisturizer to start the day on my hands. Let's see. I can see the chat now, guys. So if you want to chatter, let me know. All right. On Monday, we actually went to go do the stream, which is a little more of like a casual venture on Monday. We just kind of talk about some news headlines and I don't make anything. And AWS was having a bunch of problems. And then also apparently Pump Fund. So I don't know if Pump Fund servers also run on AWS, but that totally nuked our ability to stream on Pump Fund on Monday. So it was just kind of a YouTube and X stream. All right. So you're going to roast this at 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. I have a convection setting that is also a roast. So if you have a convection setting, you're just want to lower the temperature about 15 degrees. And that will kind of prevent it from burning or cooking too quickly. I'm still going to keep a pretty serious eye on this, but it should still cook for about 25 or 30 minutes with the convection setting. Fun fact, if you have an air fryer, you can also use that. An air fryer is just a countertop version of a convection oven. We didn't need an extra device if we had a convection oven, but I still have one because it's great for like fries. I don't know what it is about like chicken nuggets and fries in the air fryer, but I swear to God, you know, when maybe you've had a few drinks and you don't want to use the oven, but you definitely want something salty and crunchy and bad for you, that air fryer hits. Okay. So next, we're going to make the stuffing portion. And for this, I'm going to use a sausage. This is just a turkey sausage. This is the Good and Gather All Natural from Target. And this has like a sage flavor. What I would not use is like a sweet sausage. I wouldn't use like a maple flavor, like a super sweet one. So just make sure that you're going to want to use like a sage style, like pork sausage if you go that route. And if you use turkey, I don't know, that'd be like all that great with maple. So, you know, just keep that in mind. This is going to heat up, and then we're just going to cook up the sausage, and then I'm going to mix everything all together. The other thing that I have made in advance and maybe snacked on a little bit is a cornbread. I made this yesterday, and then I let it sit out on this rack so that it will kind of dry out. Because it's a cornbread stuffing, you don't want it to be super moist like a cake, basically. You're going to want to let it dry so that it absorbs the other stuff that we're going to throw in with it, and then you can bake it all together. So this is kind of like a mishmash of my mom's stuffing recipe and my husband's aunt's stuffing recipe, and she makes a dressing, not a stuffing. So there is a difference, and a dressing is like a very it's like a very fine texture as opposed to a stuffing, which is like kind of crumbled. You can tell like the chunk pieces of the bread that are in it, whereas a dressing is kind of like a smoother consistency, almost like a cake, basically. That's the difference. Southern people are like super touchy about that. Everywhere else, not so much. Okay, so while this heats up, we can talk about Kadena, R.I.P. Basically, Kadena, if you don't know what happened, Kadena was a layer 1 blockchain, and they were another ETH killer. We all know how I feel. I talked about this last week. The ETH killer narrative, like Monad, all of these blockchains came out of the woodwork around 2021, 2022, and they raised a shitload of money to try and become an ETH killer blockchain. Monad couldn't do it, and obviously Kadena didn't do it. But the big difference is that Kadena actually raised $35 million in like funding rounds to be able to, build their blockchain, have a team, all kinds of people. And up until 2 days ago, they were tweeting things. They were at a conference. They were actively what appeared to be like really building. And then last night, very abruptly, they post this message on their Twitter with a Medium article saying that they are shutting down. There's no explanation. And then they let the team know that all of a sudden just operations were ceasing, and that's it. There haven't been a whole lot of details aside from that one initial post, and even it sounds like all of the team has been blindsided along with the community. Yeah, that's what I think about that too. So obviously, I feel terrible for the community as a whole. Like our hearts really go out to them. Anybody who's invested money in a project, obviously you are hoping to see some kind of return, and you're hoping that the team succeeds and makes good on all of their promises. That's why it's just kind of wild to see that they were actively building and doing something, and then just like out of nowhere, like off with its head. So, yeah, this was really feeling terrible for the community today. Anybody who's invested, obviously, the market cap rod, you know, it went to shit very quickly. This sausage is already seasoned, but I'm going to add just a little more sage to this and a little poultry seasoning. The other unfortunate thing about Kadena was that a lot of people actually thought it was a hack, that someone had, you know, socially engineered, gotten on their Twitter account and then made some very good looking, you know, legit looking false post just so they could short the token or, you know, steal from it somehow. And then everybody very quickly realized after several hours had gone by, it was still up. And then the team started notifying, like, no, they just told me this is true. Then everybody figured out that that was for real. So absolutely terrible. And the crazier thing is that before all of this went bust yesterday, I think they had a market cap of something like 75 million, and the trading volume on the token was like in the millions per day. So it's not like it was receiving no attention. Yeah, this was just kind of very unfortunate. There isn't a whole lot of cooking with this recipe, by the way. This is just going to be like kind of quick. The one thing we do need to actually cook here is this sausage, and then everything else is just going to get mixed together, and then it's all going to bake when we put it together and put it with the squash. Let's see. Somebody said who likes stuffing. I mean, if you do not like stuffing, you haven't had good stuffing, because even stovetop was delicious, and that was probably some like chemical to go with glyphosate bread. Let's see. Gonna join you guys in the chat while I can here. Let's see. Some other fun news that has gone down today is B&B is finally being listed after years. Is finally being listed on Robinhood and on Coinbase. I really would love to have gone back to 2021 during the 2021 crazy B&B meme cycle of like Seif Moon and Meta Hero and all of that. I would have loved to have seen B&B up there at that point with all of those, you know, you could buy Ethereum obviously on Coinbase at the time, but you could not get a hold of B&B. I remember when I bought it, I had to buy it like through Trust Wallet, through one of their like, you know, kind of like a Moon Pay or whatever. But oh my God, like I cannot imagine how ridiculous meme season would have been on B&B if we would have been able to buy it back then. Okay. So I'm just gonna cook this a little more until I see a lot of the fat dissolve. And I think at that point it'll stop steaming. Let's see. One of the comments is, I think B&B was $8 when Pancake Swap launched. Can you imagine? I look back at obviously the price of Bitcoin a lot, and I'm like, man, that what a win. That would have been crazy. But also, even just to like around 2020, 2021, to have been able to stumble across Pancake Swap, B&B, even Solana for what it was worth, like that would have been absolutely, yeah, all you have to do is buy B&B and not sell. The not selling part, that is the trick, isn't it? The conviction play. Okay, I'm actually gonna keep this. No, I can't open the sausage. There's a thing called cross-contamination. We are not gonna do that today. Okay, I'm gonna get another knife and some of my ingredients here. I'm actually gonna throw, okay, so this is just onion and celery, and I'm gonna throw this in here with this because the pan is still cooking a little bit. So we're gonna get like a par cook on this for now. I'm gonna try and not run up my dish count today because I've done that and it's not the most fun thing. Okay, we're also gonna have to talk about a trust me bro ingredient here that I'm gonna add to this, because in a dressing it would be criminal, like straight to jail. You would be arrested for putting apples in a dressing, but in a stuffing you're not. So when I said this is gonna be a mix of the two, that's what I meant. Okay, we get a bowl. And okay, I'm gonna get a bigger bowl. You know that saying, like you never regret the shots you take, you only regret the shots you don't. Well, you only regret getting a too small bowl. You never regret getting a bowl big enough. So just keep that in mind. Which one is my family's puke bowl? We use a trash can for that, hopefully lined with something. Okay, so I'm gonna take my lovely cornbread that is nice and dry and kind of falling apart, and I'm just gonna crumble this in the bowl. I'm gonna switch this view here so that you guys can see. And we're gonna crumble up the cornbread. And I'm gonna check on the acorn squash real quick. Alrighty. I'd say that maybe has, we're gonna adjust this. Okay. If you do use the convection setting, you do need to keep a sharper eye on it than you would just your regular oven when you're baking. Sometimes that convection setting will completely play you, so be careful. All right, and I'm gonna crumble. I'm gonna crumble this whole thing because that's kind of the point of the dish here. And let's see. All right, nice and crumbly. Now I'm gonna take our sausage, onion, and celery, and we're gonna add this in to the bowl. Set this down. I'll save my spoon over here. And then the controversial ingredient of the apples. We're going to chop this up, which I waited until the last minute to do because obviously they're apples and they will brown. You're going to want to pick a baking apple. This is a Cosmic Crisp. And hopefully an apple that doesn't have that appeal on it. Have you guys heard of this? Appeal is this. If you don't live in the US, you probably don't have to deal with this kind of shit. But appeal is this extra coating that apparently Bill Gates' company created. And he decided that this would be a great thing to help preserve an apple, because apparently the natural skin on an apple wasn't enough. So it's like this extra coating, and you can't even wash it off. So you have to check that whatever store you go to does not sell apples with this appeal coating. And they say it's like completely harmless and, you know, it's fine to ingest, but honestly, like, why? Here, I have a theoretical question for you. Whenever you wonder, like, oh, are these people just being like wonderful and altruistic and they're helping us? Let me ask you, if you had that kind of money, would you spend your time creating vaccines and weird coating on food for people to eat? No, you'd be on a boat. We're gonna chop this apple. Okay, I'm just gonna chop 2 apples. Again, controversial ingredient, big time. Okay, I'm gonna try not to cut my fingers off. Okay, let's see. Other crypto news this week. I saw that the NHL, which is the National Hockey League in the US, they have partnered with Kalshi. As you know, Kalshi is our favorite betting platform that we talk about on Mondays, and I usually try and find some like absolutely fire betting pick that looks like free money. This is our favorite thing to say in the chat. We're like, this is a no-brainer. This is free money. Ain't no such thing. But you could try. The last bet we talked about on Kalshi was who Donald Trump would pardon before the end of the year. And the top candidate right now is Binance's own CZ. And I think it's like a 42% chance that he receives a pardon. He doesn't need one. But I don't know why he's so high up on the list. Like, he's already served his time. He's out. So I'm not sure why he's so high up on that list. But either way, I think the thought was, well, since he doesn't need a pardon, this is free money. But I think, can't you pardon somebody even for, well, there were people that were pardoned for things that they hadn't even been convicted of yet or charged with. But I don't think you can preemptively pardon somebody. I think that's still a lingering question from the end of Biden's term. But I don't think anything else is coming down the pipeline for CZ. So I don't think he needs a pardon. So you could vote no, and it would be free money. The bet actually resolves itself, I think, by the end of the year, by January 1st. So if you're looking to play some long-term ones, that might be one worth considering. Okay, we're going to take some pecans. You can also use walnuts. My mom uses walnuts. I'm going to grab the camera. And you can crumble these. I'm just going to like crush them with my hands instead of chop them. And I'm probably just going to use about a cup of pecans. I think pecans are the superior nut, but you can tell me in the chat what you think. Like, name another nut that you could use in a pie and a savory dish. All to say, well, I guess pistachio, right? You can make that ice cream. I don't know if I need pecan ice cream. Butter pecan, but like just by itself, I don't know. All right. And then after we crush this up, we're going to go in with like our wet ingredients. And the acorn squash is almost done, so this is perfect timing. Okay, we're going to add a can of cream of something. I'm going to use mushroom, but you can use cream of chicken, or cream of celery would also be very good. But either way, just like a cream of something. The flavor's not that overpowering with these, so I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Okay, that is almost done. And then basically what happens is after I mix all of this up in a bowl that was the correct size, and I'm so glad I picked this bowl, by the way. Once we mix all of this together, then we are going to pile it on the Acorn squash and then send it right back into the oven to just bake for a little bit all together and go from there. Okay, now this next portion is going to just be like an eyeball like kind of thing, and this is the chicken broth. So this is a 3-pound thing of chicken broth, which my dogs are very happy to hear about, because if I don't use all of this, I will just pour it on their food. And we're just going to add a little bit of this at a time, and then make sure it gets like really nice. And do you guys like the word moist? I don't. Okay, we're going to take this actual spoon, the bigger one. Again, this is an eyeball type of thing here, so you just have to make sure all of the ingredients are nice and well incorporated. And the Acorn squash is done, so we'll pull this out. Woo! Oh, this is great. It doesn't matter if the skin has a little like char on it, because you don't eat that part. So. Okay. And we're going to mix all of this together, and I'm also going to add some sage and some poultry seasoning. We all know I love poultry seasoning. That was kind of the star of the show last week. And for your cornbread experience, if this is too like crumbly for you, you can definitely use the dry ones. They make those bags at Thanksgiving time. You can go find them, like, you know, in the package section. They have those little pallets of like everything that you need all at once, which are very helpful when you don't go to the grocery store that often, but it's actually really confusing when you do, because then I'm like, well, where is it? It's not here. It's not where it's supposed to be. And that throws me off, and I don't like that. Okay. We're going to add more poultry seasoning. My husband's aunt's recipe is like almost 1.5 of these. It is a lot of poultry seasoning for her dressing. And I also feel like it's like a secret I can't give away. It's like one of those special recipes. And you know what we're not going to add? A bay leaf. I didn't even add one to the soup last week, and I didn't miss it. You couldn't tell me. Hold on. I just need to smell this now, because I'm now. I mean, it has just like a very mild, like, scent. It almost smells like a medicine cabinet. You can't convince me a bay leaf is a necessary experience. I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna do one last mix of all this. I'm gonna taste it for salt, just to make sure that it's nice and salty enough. And then we're gonna add it to our squash. I'm gonna try and get like a little bit of everything in here. It's good. I'm going to add a little more salt, though. And then we'll add this to the squash, throw this back in the oven. I'm going to lower this temperature, though. So I dropped the temperature down to 350. is made officially way too much. We were not prepared for the ratio of this, but I'm going to show you what else I'm going to do after this with the leftovers. Okay. And I'm going to pile this up fairly high, just so that we get a nice little presentation. So if you're going to have a really, like, you know, kind of a smaller get together, I would say less than 6 people or 6 people or less. This is probably like a really nice presentation. And it kind of satisfies the 2 requirements, right? Of like, you have your veggie dish and then you have the dressing. And I think people would be really amused by this. This is lovely to have on a plate. Okay. And then I'm going to add the rest of that to a casserole dish. Because we don't waste anything here. Let's see. I don't think I'm going to have to, like, grease this, but we'll see. Oh. If you have long hair, you already know. You just close it in a car window. It happens way too often. Beautiful. Okay. Personally, my favorite way to eat stuffing is actually on a multi-layered sandwich with turkey and cranberry, and then you use gravy like it's mayonnaise. Maybe in 6 months, we'll have like a My 600-Pound Life version of the show, and it'll be me and all of the shit I've talked about eating. Okay, so we are going to throw this in the oven. And I'm going to throw this casserole dish in the oven, and we're going to let this brown. And I'm going to give this like 17 minutes, and then I'm going to check it. Because the oven's been nice and hot today. Okay. All right, let's go over some crypto news topics now. Let's see. So one of the other things that I saw is that apparently Polymarket, which is the other gambling rival site kind of to Kalshi, except Polymarket is not available to US customers. And I'm not telling you to use a VPN. But anyway, so for the rest of the world, Polymarket is available, and they just allowed or incorporated Solana. Did we need another way to gamble with Solana? Between Phantom, Moonshot, all of the meme coins, Pump Fund, at this point, you should just be able to buy Solana in like full-blown casino chips, because that's kind of the purpose of this coin at this point. Let's check the chat here. And for the record, like, I'm not hating on Solana. I think that is completely fine if that is your utility. But I also kind of simultaneously feel bad because there are some legitimate projects on Solana right now. There's the mobile one, there's the hotspot, the internet hotspot one. There are several like very decent projects that are kind of have some like real world application, and they would be like very useful. But how do you incentivize people to use this coin when all people tend to really do with it is gamble? That's just my question, my theoretical question here. Let's see. Let's see, some other topics. If you guys go to the Telegram, BSCN has a Telegram, and they're just news headlines for every day throughout the day. So if anything big happens, you will typically see within minutes of something being posted or something really going down. Let's see. So Coinbase launches the One Card in the US, offering Bitcoin rewards on dollar spending. We have talked about this before. This is their American Express, and it gives you 4% back in Bitcoin on your purchases. You do have to be a Coinbase One member, which I believe is their paid platform, their paid trading platform. And I don't know how much per month that is, but it does give you access to things like perpetual futures, I think better charts, being able to place better orders, and just have a more legitimate professional trading experience. Let's see, Coinbase to support BNB on the BNB Smart Chain network with trading to begin once liquidity conditions are met. Again, I mean, Coinbase finally adding BNB, it's so late. It's like the equivalent of Uniswap finally coming out and saying, okay, we've added Solana. You late, but okay, that's fine. Let's see. Michael Saylor says AI will want Bitcoin. Why? I understand he is the ultimate Bitcoin bro person. Like and he is getting the last laugh on everybody. When he started accumulating Bitcoin for MicroStrategy, everybody was like, this guy's nuts. This company's going down. I can't believe he'd do this, blah, blah, blah. He's definitely getting the last laugh. But why does AI want Bitcoin? I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure about that. Have you ever followed the Goatsy AI, which was, I think they call it Truth Terminal, and they ended up launching a crypto coin with it. The ticker was GOAT, and it was an AI or an LLM, excuse me, that was trained off of just like schizo posting from like Reddit and X and everywhere else where people have like the craziest things that they just put out into the world, 4chan, that kind of thing. And that large language model just became obsessed with I'm going to call it a meme, but don't look it up. It's called Goatsy, and it is, I'm not even going to describe it. Like even on Pub Fun, I might get taken off if I describe this meme. That's how terrible it is. But for some reason, this LLM just became absolutely obsessed with Goatsy. And then when I hear Michael Saylor talk about how AI will want Bitcoin, I'm like, no, not if it's anything like the Truth Terminal. Let's see. And the Kadena news just continues to kind of make this terrible fallout all throughout the day. So if you guys are just tuning in, or you missed the beginning when I was talking about this, obviously Kadena was a layer 1 blockchain that decided to abruptly cease operations despite sending team members to a conference, being very, very active in their community. Normally when a project shuts down, it comes after months of inactivity. There's like almost nothing being posted on the Twitter. No team members are holding Twitter spaces. You know, you just have a flood of comments whenever something does get posted of like, where's the team? What are you doing? There's hardly any trading volume. There's like almost no price action, and there's no real interest. But again, Kadena went out of their way to raise $35 million originally, and then now they have decided to just very abruptly, they cut everything off. And I think it was just kind of the two founders from what it sounds like, because the rest of the team also sounds like they have been blindsided as well. This is very uncommon in the space. It's not uncommon for a project to shut down, but it is uncommon for a project to have just been at a conference, have a $7 million daily trading volume, a $70 million market cap, and then just decide like, that's it. They're done. They're giving up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. If you go to, BSCN's X account, there is a big infographic right now posted, and it is kind of a TLDR. It says at 7:40 p.m. UTC yesterday, the official Kadena Twitter account announced their Kadena organization would be ceasing all business activity and active maintenance of the Kadena blockchain immediately. Though some suspected the announcement to be a hack or a social media exploit, because hackers have done this before. They've hacked and said something crazy, and when it plummets the price, they've usually placed a short order to, collect. But everybody was like, oh, I guess this is actually legitimate as the team members started being laid off. The announcement gave practically no reason as to why the shutdown is occurring, the author citing only market conditions. Unfortunately, we've seen crypto through multiple cycles at this point. And if you got to here and you decide these market conditions aren't worthwhile, you weren't going to make it anyway. How could you have lived through the 2022, the FTX, Celsius, XRP getting crucified by the SEC, not even knowing until the election last year if crypto is going to make it in the US? And then all of a sudden you get here at the end of 2025 and you decide, after we've had some pretty vicious volatility the last 2 weeks, I will give it to you, but this is the roller coaster. You knew what you signed up for. This isn't 2011. And then you decided to quit. I don't know. There's obviously a lot of people being let down, team members, investors, community members, retail, and that's not really fair. So the infographic obviously says, what's now? Kadena's heartbreaking post claims that both the protocol and the token will, quote, continue in our absence. Well, yeah, because you can't delete a token from the blockchain, so it's going to be tradable, but it's just, they're not going to do anything for it. Outside of this, the post promised readiness to engage with the Kadena community regarding the transition to community governance and maintenance. Word salad, word salad, word salad. Okay. It further promised to post updates on this as they become available. What's the update? You're done. That's okay. It sounds like you don't want to give an explanation and then you're just done. All right, whatever. And there are, from this post, there are countless remaining questions. What is the reason behind the sudden cessation of operations? Obviously, why were Kadena team members given so little warning? Was the scaling down of operations not possible? Does the organization's treasury still hold any KDA, which is their token and their ticker, or other assets? And if so, what will happen to these tokens? If you guys have any information, real legitimate information, and you would like to, let us know, feel free to drop us a DM on the BSCN Twitter account. We would love to hear from you if you have any inside info, and we would be happy to protect a source if you guys don't want to go public with it. All right, let's see if we can find some happier news. I do go to, I save things in my bookmarks. I don't know if you can see who bookmarks your stuff, but I bookmark a lot of things here. Grok, or X, Elon Musk, Grok, has released something called Grok Imagine, where you can now take a picture and you can animate it, essentially. And the details have kind of come out, and it is scary good. It is looking really cool. I have a bunch of pictures I've thought about doing this with, and then I also think it reminds me so much of Harry Potter, where they finally, it's the magical picture where they give it to him and it's this animated, event in your life, or the live photo from Apple. But the picture that Harry Potter is being given is one of a memory he doesn't remember because he was too little. And it's just sad. It's super bittersweet. So when I see this Grok Imagine, the only thing I connect it with is this very bittersweet idea that you are animating a memory that you can't like hold on to really. You are animating something that you don't totally remember happening back then. I think that's what people would use this for. And you're doing it to try to create a live moment out of something that you have only this still preservation of over time. So I think it's nice, but at the same time, it kind of it makes me sad. I think it's kind of two things, happy and sad at the same time. Let's see. Let's see, breaking. Trump is considering restricting U.S. software exports and shipments of items made with U.S. software to China. Isn't China just like stealing all of our shit? Okay. T. Rowe Price has officially filed with the SEC to launch the T. Rowe Price active crypto ETF. Robinhood is listed Binance. We've talked about that already. I would love to know how many people are actually buying crypto things on Robinhood at this point. It has really blown my mind to see Robinhood rise from the ashes of the GameStop debacle at this point. Who would go back and use that platform knowing that at the end of the day, they were actually just kind of beholden to these overlords that they claimed that they were not. And then finally it came out like, oh yeah, we are going to manipulate the price because the bigger hedge funds are the ones that actually control our shit. And if you need a better explanation on this, you should go watch the GameStop movie, the one with Pete Davidson and Seth Rogen. It was actually pretty funny. But it explains kind of everything from the point of view of the guy, Roaring Kitty, Keith Gill, who ended up having to testify in front of Congress about why he started placing his, he was buying options on GameStop. And he ends up just kind of like telling his story of, well, I really just liked the stock. I don't think that he had any idea that the price would go up to what it did. I think he thought he, would just talk about it and that it was like maybe undervalued by half. But man, that guy started a movement. Good for him. Occasionally he does come back to X and he starts posting random things. And I remember like maybe it was about a year ago, he posted something and of course it caused like this, oh my God, what is he buying next? And I feel like at that point, what Congress had been accusing him of was, did this guy essentially manipulate the price? But he doesn't hold people's hand over the buy button. So how do you argue with this? Is he an influencer of some kind? I mean, maybe, but he also disclosed all of his holdings. He disclosed that he bought everything. It was the most transparent, like, hey, I like this, and this is what I bought. I'm not telling you to buy it, but I think if you did, these are my reasons of conviction. And they tried to act like he was manipulating something, which is hilarious that the people in Congress were the ones saying that to his face. What? In the upside down. Okay, let's check this. This is looking so good. I swear, like, for sure. Even I am surprised at how good this is starting. Okay, we're going to let this go for another, like, 5 minutes. But this is looking so good. It's getting this, like, nice browned breaded color here. So lovely. And I'm going to clean up a little bit if I can. I can't see the chat right now. Hold on. Oh, and I have to shout out someone. Ben's mom is lovely and she watches her stream, and apparently she actually knows what she's doing and she's been to culinary school. I am so sorry if I have not been to culinary school, and that's very obvious, but I do really appreciate The perspective of someone who does know what they're doing. I wish we could get Ben's mom in the chat so she could tell me, like, no, don't do that. But yeah, maybe we'll have a special, like a collab episode. We can fly her out and she can help me. We will work on that for next week. Let's see, just back to some quick crypto news. SharpLink adds 19,271 Ethereum to its treasury, lifting total holdings to 859,853 ETH. I mean, that must be so nice. If you guys don't know, SharpLink is essentially trying to do for Ethereum what Michael Saylor has done for Bitcoin. And this is working out very nicely for SharpLink. SharpLink is also run by one of the former co-founders of Ethereum. So this is partly why this guy has so much conviction for ETH. But I think, you know, the more the merrier with Ethereum, right? You're just going to have people continue to accumulate quality assets over time. And obviously Ethereum is number 2, the top dog in the house. And I don't think that there would be anything wrong with people building a treasury of Ethereum ultimately. So SharpLink is doing a great job at just kind of leading the charge. And they actually own more Ethereum now than the Ethereum Foundation itself. And they are not planning on selling, unlike the ETH Foundation, which regularly announces haircuts, if you know what I mean. Let's see. Tether USDT reaches 500 million users worldwide. And Elon Musk's aerospace firm SpaceX has transferred $257 million in Bitcoin, making its second major move in 3 months. I don't know, a big dump incoming. So if you guys saw the chart, and I talked about this a little bit on Monday, gold has obviously been like ripping up, and Bitcoin has kind of been struggling, the whole crypto market really over the last like week and a half. And gold had like 9 green daily candles in a row. This is not normal or common, and they were huge, like up and over each other each time. And then finally, you know, what goes up, right? So gold, it has, I think it shaved about $2 trillion off of its market cap yesterday alone, or $1.7 trillion. The entire Bitcoin market cap is 2.2 trillion. So imagine all of Bitcoin essentially being wiped out. That was how much fell from gold yesterday alone. Gold can obviously sustain this, but you know, there was this chart that I talked about on Monday where somebody correlated in 2020 that after gold really ripped super high, it started to crash, and instead Bitcoin just absolutely blew up. We talked about this, but do you think that this is possible for history to repeat itself? I don't know. That is, you know, the market conditions of 2020 are absolutely not what's going on right now. We don't have stimulus checks. We don't have the government just printing. We don't have the interest rates being lowered. So consequently, I don't necessarily know if this spells like the best news. But I also don't think it's as bad as everybody says it's going to be. The other unfortunate thing is that apparently Jim Cramer was talking about how crypto was going to pump today because it's just gotten the crap kicked out of it, which means we're all going to die. So don't listen to what he says. Inverse Cramer. That is the rule. Okay. This is done. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm so excited about this. Okay. So this is the casserole version of this bread, and then here is the star of the show. I look so professional. Look at how cool this looks. So you have your vegetable, you have your carb, you have veggies, you have your aromatics, you have flavor. I mean, this looks so good. It is way too hot to eat right now. But this if you are looking for something that presents really lovely, that you can do kind of like single portion servings with, just kind of hand to each guest, this would easily make at least 4 to 6 acorn squashes this size. So if you, again, are looking to impress your guests and just have like a nice little, you know, a little intimate dinner with everybody and get everybody together, but still present things like it's like a very curated Ralph Lauren Food Network type of Thanksgiving or Christmas, this would be a lovely dish. If you guys want the recipe, please let me know, and I will be happy to post everything on my X account, and then have the BSCN account retweet it if you're curious. If not, otherwise, I've had a great time again today. Wednesdays at noon and Mondays at noon Eastern, we get together and we just live stream and just kind of talk some crypto. And on Wednesdays, we obviously make something. I am Jackie Dutton, and if you guys like the show, hit the like button, repost, share. And otherwise, I will see you guys Monday for a little talking. And then next week on Wednesday, leave your comments about what I should cook next. And otherwise, I will see you later. Bye.